Yeah, welcome back to Breakfast Central. It's time to find out what the big stories are making headlines today in the dailies. Joining us is Public Affairs Analyst Dotun Ojon. Dotun, welcome back to Breakfast Central.
Good morning and happy Monday.
How was your weekend?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Your Valentine weekend.
Oh, yeah.
extended weekend.
There seems to be something going on here. We're all wearing different shades.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But we start off with first newspaper. Let's see what the headlines are saying in the Punch newspapers. Telecom tariff, federal government deploys security agencies, NLC insistent protest. The writer says protests will be hijacked by miscreants, says NSCDC spokesman. Subscribers oppose Labour move. This is a very interesting one. They're saying, don't worry, don't protest for us. No need. And at the top of the Punch newspapers, OPEC foresees lower Dangote refinery petrol price. I'm sure a lot of Nigerians are saying, amen. Please keep prophesying that sort of thing. Nigerians want lower petrol price. Borno missing children rises as Boko Haram steps up recruitment. Not a good one there. And show fairness in deporting Nigerians, federal government tells the United States. And Adeboye Anyauku Oshibajo, OBX governors attend commendation service. That's for the deceased Afenifere leader, Pa Ayo Adebanjo. And Alaafin Oyo Prince asks court to sack Owade. And another sad story, there's a rising incidence of femicide in Nigeria. Dismembered girlfriend died from asthma, says Kwara killer cleric.
Yeah, I saw that.
I mean, how can you die? What dismembered her body?
So he said, which is very silly, he said that she had come to his house, he's never done anything like that before. Unfortunately, she started having an asthma attack. He ran out to get medication before he came back. She was already dead, and he was afraid of people saying that he killed her. So instead, he thought that a wiser thing to do is to cut her into different parts and, toss her. But so he said he didn't use her for ritual. Like, that makes it any better. Anyway, final story there. I think local government crisis at Adeleke Oyetola trade words, Labour suspends services. Let's move to the Daily Independent. On the front page of the Daily Independent newspaper, 28.1 trillion naira fiscal deficit. Debt servicing burden may dwarf performance. Tinubu urges Joint Maritime Task Force to boost Gulf of Guinea security. PDP dismisses allegations of forgery of primary election guidelines. Tension in Osun as sacked local government chairmen, councillors plan return to office. Osun NLC asks members to stay off their offices. Fundraising, Enugu Security Trust Fund raising 3 billion naira. APC sweeps Katsina local government polls. It's only in this Nigeria, you see. One political party will sweep everything. It's like they really handed them broom to sweep. Yes. Angry youth set Ondo police station ablaze. WAEC releases November-December 2024 exam results. Records 53.64% pass. Nigeria rejects plan to split AU political affairs. Peace, security development. Serap gives CBN 48 hours to withdraw ATM fee hike. Would they listen? It's another issue.
I like Serap's approach. It's better than going on protest that won't yield any results. Yeah.
Well,
and the Gulf of Guinea you mentioned, I'm wondering why President Tinubu has not changed it to Gulf of Nigeria like Trump.
like
Gulf of America. It's true, it's just in our southern border, so why is it not Gulf of Nigeria? Guinea is very far from us.
Very interesting one. Okay, I think maybe we can take one more story. I think maybe we should actually just get straight into it. Let's start with Telecom's tariff hike. NLC, of course, has deployed, they're insisting on their protests.
Yeah.
Federal government has deployed security agents to, sort it out, saying that the protests will be hijacked. So let's talk about your thoughts on that.
Okay, good morning again, and it's always good to be here on a Monday morning.
Always good to have you.
And I told you that I don't want to be emotional this morning, so I'm going to rely a bit on data. And,
That's okay.
Yeah. So first is that Nigeria response to market response is always very funny if you look at our history, because majorly we do not have a price control mechanism in place. For example, so if you're leading in such a community, you need to be extremely very careful about your decisions, your policies, and your project. What do I mean? If you move a needle in Nigeria, before you know it, the house can crumble. It means that, for example, if you look at what happened 2 years ago, and I was trying to write it down, the price from MBS, the price of petrol was somewhere around 200 naira. When you move that from 200 to about 945 naira that we have today, that's within 2 years, that will tell you that we've got about 225% increase in that. That's for petrol. And now when you look at the consequential effect of it, you can talk about housing, you can talk about transportation and all of that. To fly from 2 years ago to a return ticket from Lagos to Abuja is going to cost you about, averagely, 45,000 naira. That's between 206,000 and 504,000 naira today. That's about 257% increase within 2 years. You can continue to do the analysis. If you get to my 12th market, I don't know whether you've been there, you discover that averagely we are, the increase that has happened in the last 2 years is between 200% and 270% in all the cases, including getting accommodation in Lagos. So when you run an economy like that, you know that when you change the price, in fact, we've not talked about foreign exchange. You move from 400 and something to about 1,504 that we have today. That's around 256% increase again within 2 years. So every operation within
across board.
Yes, every organization within such a market will face severe issue, and telecoms is not actually it's not an exception. Yeah. So what we have today is a response of the market situation, that the market situation was also still responding to the policy of government. And because we don't have a framework, and this is not a Tinubu thing, because when you want to limit the scope of conversation, we talk about administration. But when you want to widen it, we talk about government policies over the years. For example, my friend was stranded in Ibadan. He was going from Ibadan to Akure, and he had to reach out to me that he had prepared 9,000 naira to take him from Ibadan to Akure. It used to be 1,500, 1,700. Now when he got to the park, because of the availability of people, the motor park administrators decided to move it from 9,000 naira that he was prepared for to 15,000 naira.
Just like that.
That is the economy we are in. So because there's no mechanism that controls our price directly or indirectly, we are moved by two things. Number one is situation. Number two is greed. So when you have a market situation that is moved by situation and greed, anybody can decide to do anything. And as a result of that, it's going to affect everything. So having said this, you discover that it's not really out of place for any business operator, except if you do not have a business in Nigeria, to say that at this point in time, we cannot continue to do business the way we've been doing it before. And of course, you remember, even to move your staff now from office to their houses, everything is becoming complicated. Ideally, any serious-minded organization should be thinking about increment in the living wage of the staff, as we've had it in the federal government, moving from about 30,000 to 70,000 naira. All of these come together to form the basis of any business decision within any organization. And as somebody who has traveled from the from civil service to the public sector to politics and all of that, I can tell you that there's nothing that can be done at this moment.
So the telecoms are within their right.
They are within the right. We'll continue to engage. We'll continue to engage, but I don't want us to leave the reality of what the economy is saying and be pretending as if, oh, these people are just making decisions because
they are immune to it. Especially because they haven't really done any increases in the past.
In the last
how many years? Yeah.
So it's just a response to the market.
So what about NLC that is planning to protest?
Okay, so the understanding is this. I also understand what NLC is trying to say. For example, a man who was earning 30,000 as minimum wage moved to 70,000. That's about 100% increase. The reality of that increase cannot match the realism of the marketplace, of what the marketplace is saying. So in their head, they are thinking that, okay, one of the things we can do, because communication, unfortunately, has moved from where it used to be to becoming a necessity. In Nigeria today, essential service and commodity today. So you cannot even tell people to stop talking. Because
it's no
longer a luxury. So I also understand the thinking of NSC that, okay, if we come out, maybe somehow they can get something out of it. But beyond having to shut down station, you remember that from, I think, February 12th or before then, they actually told Nigerians to boycott the service provider between 11 and 2 p.m. But nobody listened to them.
How would they listen to them when you have Zoom meetings, you have work?
That takes you to the reality of the 21st century business that we need to do as a people, and the need for the government to think deeply in an economy where anybody can wake up, man, and say this cup has moved from 10 naira to 20 naira just without any consequence. And that's why in Nigeria today you still get to some part of where you live across the other bridge that people still pay in dollars to get accommodation.
And all of that is only in Nigeria that rainfall affects the price of transportation.
A dollar affects the price of tomato.
You know the funny thing, even when the dollar is dropping,
nobody is
because now, according to what I'm seeing, reports have it here, you know, haven't confirmed that dollar has dropped from 1,660 to 1,552. There is a slight decrease, right, or slight increase in the naira.
Yes,
but they will not reflect.
Yeah,
even the petrol.
Yeah, in the recent of it, dollar moving from 1,006 to 1,005. In the recent of it, it's not little. It should have a consequential effect on the prices. But
because if the reverse was the case, if it had increased,
the market responds immediately.
The price decrease. This petrol stations are saying, you know, they've not sold their old stock.
Yeah,
but they never, when there's an increase, they never
tell you that we are doing this. So these are some of the things that we talk about. When it's very easy, and this is where the issue of responsibility, I don't know whether I can link it to the other story I was saying on the page. This is where the issue of responsibility comes in. It's very easy, and I say it again and again, that you can actually sit from here and think, oh, the person that has offended the gods is actually your president. The person that has offended the gods is actually your governor. But the reality is that the mindset of followership is only advertised in leadership. What do I mean? We pick
a reflection.
Yes, we pick the best of us to rule the rest of us, either you like it or not. It's people that went out to vote, or even if you say people didn't vote, that they rewrote the figure. Who did it? It's still the Nigerian people. So we must get to a point of responsibility, and at our little circle, we must effect the change that we want to see. You cannot just sit down somewhere and say because you are NURTW chairman, you move transportation from 12,000 to 15,000 because there are people in your park. And this happens across board.
So we actually need to tell ourselves the home truth. We're very quick to point fingers at politicians, at government, when we are ourselves doing this really terrible things. And you're right that the people are a reflection of their leaders. Until a critical mass of Nigerians change their ways, it would always be garbage in, garbage out.
Absolutely. Let's now take a look at our budgets. We saw that there had been a lot of amendments, and I don't know if I'll call it good news. Some people would react to that.
Highest budget in the history of Nigeria.
It's been passed last week. The front page of Daily Independent says that fiscal 28.1 trillion fiscal deficit and debt servicing burden may dwarf the performance of the budget.
Okay, so as I speak this morning now, there's no record in public place as at this time that has actually exuded the last year budget and that has communicated to the Nigerian people that this is the extent of the execution. But let me rely on a very important member of the Nigerian government, Senator Udume, who was on TV yesterday, who said it, that the 2024 budget performance is somewhere around 30%.
Yeah, that's a fail rate.
See, the reality is that the reality of the situation is that I am not always excited about the figure in the budget, because year in, year out, you will always see interesting figure. And it's not just year from time immemorial. What makes a budget tick or not is the commitment,
the execution,
to the execution. And you see, you can't be inconvenienced and want to get commitment to anything. The Nigerian government is similarly used to the fact that, oh, let's just sit, let's put it on paper, and once we put it on paper, we make noise about it, we increase the figure from last year, and all of that, and we do not do anything about it. So President Tinubu's ambitious budget is something to be excited about, but the disappointment that will come out of it will be as big as the budget.
So where does the failure in execution come from?
Okay, the failure in
the
failure in execution comes from, number one, the mindset behind the budget. We have never had budget in the last few years. What we've always been having is copy and paste. And that's why you see some ridiculous number in the budget, and they move it from this budget to the other budget. If there's a proper mindset in the planning of a budget, there's no how a COP will come this year and it will also come next year.
What is it called broke?
Because we are doing what they call this thing. Because we are doing party. No, that's the reality. We must continue to check the mindset behind our budget making. And it's beyond the limitation of what the president can do. And that's why I'm one of those people who felt that maybe if a younger person who has the capacity more to look into the books, the more will be better. I'm one of the advocates that because Nigeria complexity makes it exceedingly difficult, if not practically impossible, for the president to know every unit of what is contained in your budget. You rely on your ministers. You rely on your MDAs. You rely on all of the agencies, ministry, and department of government. And at the end of the day, they come with all of this budget. If there's not taken, you can't go through all of them.
Even the Auditor General's report is late.
Everything is late, and that's why I say that any miracle is a product of mindset. Any performance is a product of principle. Once we do not set the principle behind our budget very well, then we continue to have issues. So now what we are talking about, the fear, you even remember that at one point in Nigeria, we were using 25% of our budget to service the needs of National Assembly. That is the mindset behind our budget. It's ridiculous. So we have a fantastic number now that I am grateful for, but I will be happier if we can stay true to the letter of the budget. And I once said it last time that it is not compulsory that every year that we have a new budget. We can actually back our old budget with a new legislation and say, oh, 2024 budget, because we are taking the
government is a continuum.
Yes. We don't need any budget for 2020. Let's just exhaust this. Let's legislate and add the number we need to have in terms of the current expenditure, because that will not be captured. But in terms of capital expenditure, let us ensure that we finish this. Until we get to that point, we'll continue to have big figures in budget, and we'll continue to create an avenue for people to continue to steal from government. Because the legal way to steal from government is to have legal provision in the budget.
I mean, even those guys who do New Year resolution, if you realize that the last year was
you carry it over. You carry it over. From 2020, I still have item in my New Year principle that I've been repeating since 2020. I saw it. I'm unable to do it. I'm not a failure. I'm just going to push it forward with more energy to get that done.
Thank you very much, Dr.
We have to,
as always.
Thank you
30
so
minutes
much.
is short, man.
I know. Thank you for your time with us this morning. We're going to break.
It's a pleasure.
And when we come back, more to come.